if the motive is to connect, to deepen the connection, if it's to have greater understanding, then I think being vulnerable and sharing is a good thing.
Call it like an emotional vomit. Like you can't hold it in and it just comes out. And it's like, and then almost like a bit like a hangover, that you're authentic.
Yeah.
And so are you using this safety behavior of like, the authentic me will not be accepted, so let me just hide out from the world now, until they almost like...
Hey guys, welcome back to the therapy floor. I am Dr. Vicky.
I'm Dr. Ritz.
And we are just going to get right into it.
Let's go.
Let's go.
So today's dilemma comes in from a woman in her 30s, and she says, "Hi, Vicky and Ritz."
Hi.
Hello. Love the new format of these shorter episodes. I find the things that you say so relatable, and it always gets me thinking about my life. So here is my issue. I have a habit of oversharing personal details about my life, especially when I'm feeling what I think is excited, emotional, or stressed. In the moment, it feels like a relief to open up, but afterward, I often feel vulnerable and exposed. Sometimes it's my good friends, sometimes it's even people I've only just met. I start worrying that I've shared too much, or that people will judge me or see me differently. When I go home, I end up feeling anxious and regretful, replaying the conversation in my head and wishing I could take some of what I said back. I think that I'm not going to... Sorry, let me say that. I think that's it. I'm not going to see people. I'll just stay in my bubble and I will avoid seeing anyone for a while. But then, of course, I do, and it happens again. What do you make of it all, and any tips for what I can do differently? And just to give you an idea about my life, I'm married with kids, have good friends, and life generally feels good on the whole. I always felt a lot, so they've said felt a lot, growing up, and my parents described me as emotional. In hindsight, I don't think I ever really had a space I could take my feelings to. Sometimes my aunts, but nothing I remember going and speaking to somebody specific. I hope I'm making sense.
Yeah. That's a lot of context for us, isn't it?
Well, when this one actually came in, I asked this person, can you give me a little bit more about your life?
Okay, I was going to say that's really great.
Because I feel like that really helps, doesn't it? Because
does.
sometimes we start like second guessing or being like, is it like this? Is it like that? So actually, if you do send in a dilemma, give us a bit more about like life and the current context and anything that might seem a little bit
relevant.
Yeah.
That does help, because I think when we'd see someone in the clinic room, we'd do an assessment, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
And we'd be putting together the pieces based on the questions we're asking them. But I guess because we can't have that back and forth with you now, it is good to have that context. So, okay, interesting. So she's an oversharer and has vulnerability hangover. Vulnerability hangover, I think.
I like that phrase.
Yeah, I don't know where I heard that from. I can't take credit for it. I love talking about vulnerability and sharing, because it's so... We advocate for vulnerability, don't we? In order to form connection. Like, that is really the point of vulnerability, of being vulnerable with another person. It fosters intimacy, connection, and trust. But you do need to make sure you're doing it with the right person and also with the right intention. So I think if the motive is to connect, to deepen the connection, if it's to have greater understanding, then I think being vulnerable and sharing is a good thing. However, and I've seen this with social media, and I think I may have spoken about it on my TikTok before, if you're sharing with the intent, or oversharing, or with the intent of maybe letting people feel sorry for you, like gaining sympathy, if you want to show off, I don't know, anything other than really connecting and connecting with genuine people that you know.
Like a premeditated.
Yeah. Where there is safety with the person that you're sharing with, not just to a lot of people, then I think that you're just exposing yourself. You're not being vulnerable. So I wonder with your friendships, there's lots of things I'm wondering, but I'm wondering if the shame, because I think that's what it is she's saying, the shame and the feeling like, oh my gosh, I've done too much, is that because the other person isn't sharing back? And do you feel like actually I'm giving, but I'm not necessarily receiving to a reciprocal level? And that can feel exposing, can't it? If you feel like I'm giving so much, I'm leaving myself wide open, and someone else remains guarded and closed and protected, then yeah, maybe you are sharing too much, and it'll be good to think about why you're doing that and what you aim to get from the other person. But if you are sharing and there's some reciprocity there and you feel like it's a two-way street, then my question would be, let's go further back into your childhood to understand why being seen feels difficult or alien or uncomfortable.
Yeah,
those are my initial thoughts.
Yeah, because I like what you said there at the end. There is something about that because she's saying she has good friends, and so she shares with good friends, but then also people that she's just like only just met. But if we stick with the good friends part, there is a quality there, isn't there, about like shame, also maybe unworthiness of having that space. Like, it doesn't sound like what you've said is that you're getting from negative feedback.
Yeah.
It's more like a judgment that you're placing on yourself. And I think, to me, it sounds like it could be coming from the ability to be held. So I just wonder whether, because you talk about, when you said, I always felt a lot growing up and my parents described me as emotional, I wonder where that was held. So that's why I'm wondering, like, do you hold things, and then you have these meetups with people, or somebody's offering you a space and maybe they're sharing, and then what ends up happening to you, and it's not a nice term, but I actually call it like an emotional vomit. Like, you can't hold it in and it just comes out. And it's like, oh, and then almost like a bit like a hangover.
Yeah.
I've had a good time.
Yeah.
I've drunk too much. I've had a hangover, and oh God, I don't want to face up to it the next day.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, the vulnerability hangover. I think holding has a lot to do with it here. If you weren't held, if your emotions weren't held, and if, a parent describing their child as emotional, to me, that sounds like the parent is saying you're too much.
Yes.
And so if you're getting told, if the message, even if that wasn't explicitly said to you, but if the underlying message is you're too much, how are you ever going to learn to hold yourself?
Yeah. And also, what if that judgment that was placed on her is something that actually isn't necessarily true?
Well, of course it's not true, is it?
Sure, no, but I'm thinking, what if her parents were the ones that actually were, I don't know, repressed, cold, and actually what is a normal level of emotion seemed too much for them because of their incapacity to manage
deal with
emotion.
Yeah.
And so I wonder the quality of the things that you're actually oversharing. Are you actually oversharing? I think that's what I'm getting at. Or are you just, in your mind, you have this belief, I'm too much, and any expression of emotion, personal, anything personal feels like you're doing too much, when maybe you're not, actually. So I wonder what level you're judging, or like the measuring stick here of you being an oversharer, because you actually also could be quite authentic.
I actually wonder if anyone in your adult life has told you you're too much.
Yeah.
Like, do you have any evidence for that? That you're too emotional? That you feel too much, that you share too much? Like, I'm wondering...
That's the cognitive behavioural element to it, isn't it? Like, are you...
I was wondering if you could do some fact-finding about this.
Yes, and reality testing. are you basing this just on your emotions and how you feel internally, or is there some external evidence to confirm what you're thinking about yourself?
The isolation part that you talk about, like just wanting to hide out in your home, to me that sounds like a safety behavior. So you seem to get into a cycle, as you said, where you can connect with people. You have good friends. It sounds like you have a good marriage. You've got relationships with your children. So you're able to connect. Then you meet people that you want to connect further with, be it current friendships, be it people you've just met. And maybe you just are a people person as well. And then they talk, potentially you talk, you share, and then you come away from that feeling quite scared. And so the way of keeping yourself safe is, as you said, to isolate, to hide out, to almost like not show the world the real you. And I like what you said there about actually, is it that you're too much, or is it that you're authentic?
Yeah.
And so are you using this safety behavior of like, the authentic me will not be accepted, so let me just hide out from the world now until they almost like forget about me. And then I'll just like, reappear slowly. Okay, I'm like last week's news. Yeah. But are you even news?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it would be really good to get some feedback here.
Yeah.
And to get some other perspectives on how you show up. But I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing to be reflective and to think about this and to think about how you want to be. I mean, I've had moments where I've thought about my authenticity, because I like to believe and I like to present myself as a bit of an open book. Like, what you see is what you get. I like to just be me and not feel like I have to hide or shut things away. But at times I have had to question, or I've liked to question myself. Okay, in this moment, why am I sharing this? I have an urge to say something and to share or disclose or reveal something. But what is the intention of me doing it? And for me, sometimes it's being because I want to make the other person feel comfortable.
Oh, okay.
And sometimes I don't know whether this is just comes with the territory of being a psychologist or a therapist, but people naturally open up to me, to us. And I think I sometimes feel like I don't want them to feel uncomfortable, and maybe for them to have vulnerability hangover because they've opened up. Maybe they wouldn't have opened up to anybody in this way, just anyone. So maybe I want to also make them feel comfortable and be like, oh yeah, like I've had a similar thought, or you know. But then
Do you take it further than they have?
If I feel comfortable doing so, yes. And if I also feel like it will be beneficial, yes. But then there are other times that I've overshared with people who aren't necessarily in my close circle, and I've wanted reassurance, or I've wanted a sounding board, and then I've beat myself up afterwards, realizing that wasn't the right thing to do, and I should have done that with people I feel safe with. And then it's made me think twice about being so open. I can still be me, but without necessarily laying myself bare.
Yeah, opening the closet doors.
Yeah, to people that there isn't that safety to do that with.
Because that is a privilege to let someone into your world.
100%.
As well. So so going with and reflecting with what's your intention behind this. I think we've actually talked about quite a few, haven't we? Like, is it a sounding board? Is it vomiting? Is it connection? Is it
people pleasing?
Is it making the other person feel heard? And saying, yeah, you're not alone in this. I feel that too. But then I also get the vulnerability side as well, because I remember once somebody speaking to me about this in the therapy room, and they were talking about how they noticed themselves getting into husband bashing around other women.
Okay.
Because that seemed to be like a form of connection. And she'd always like leave that situation, she said, feeling like, I actually quite like my husband. And yet I find myself like being like, oh yeah, or I can relate to this, or I can do that, but not in necessarily like a way that was connection. And so is it something, you know, is the vulnerability part of that or the shame part of that, does it not feel authentic then?
Yeah.
Because I wonder if there is that part, is that like a red flag going off for you, going, are you oversharing here just for the sake of being relevant and fitting in?
Yeah. I don't know if we talk about that enough in adulthood. I think we talk about it in the sense of keeping up with the Joneses and in very materialistic ways.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we talk enough about the intricacies of fitting in and belonging as an adult. We talk about it a lot in childhood when it comes to, you know, like school age children and what they need to do to fit in with their peers and to escape being singled out, bullied. But I don't know if we talk enough about it in adulthood and how it can be really hard to stay true to yourself, but also have the very normal feeling of wanting to belong and wanting to be accepted and to fit in.
Because I think making friends as an adult is a really hard thing to do.
Yeah, it is.
And so that almost feels like common ground, doesn't it? And so it's quite easy to get caught up in something that, because you're maybe trying to make a friendship, I feel like in adulthood, the ability to come into contact with people is probably far less than in childhood, especially more so with COVID and the pandemic that has happened. And when you feel like, gosh, this is my chance here, especially if maybe you are a social person, you like connection, you like other people, you like meeting new people, it can feel like I have to grab this opportunity, and if this is where the conversation is going, and then if I meet them again, if this is where the conversation keeps going, then is this the narrative I have to keep up with, feed into, find one for myself to be relevant as part of this group that's going on, or this group that's forming. But then I would encourage you to have the confidence to change the narrative and see what happens to the group dynamics.
Yeah.
Because conversations don't just need to be about sharing, do they? Like intimate bits about you.
No, you can share like values, you can share philosophies, you can share opinions.
Yeah. You can share celebrations.
Yeah.
Things that have actually gone well.
Yeah.
So I would be interested in that. Do you find like a lot of your conversations end up being about sharing? Do you find yourself with people that often share vulnerabilities? And so if that's the case, and that's actually I wonder if that's maybe your body saying, let's change things up a bit. Like it just feels like a bit too exposing each time.
Yes.
See if you can change the dynamic to come to the conversation. And this might even be like rehearsing, not even a conversation, but points beforehand of, I can talk about this, or I can talk about that, or this has been exciting for me.
Yeah.
Because it is quite easy, isn't it, to notice the things that aren't going well and to share those. Even though I know there's the other side of it where we say people don't share enough. It can also be quite easy to latch onto.
Like the complaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good word for it. It's taken a few directions, this one.
It has. And I think the key element here is to remain curious about what you're doing, why you're doing it. But be curious about it from a place of self-acceptance and really challenge this notion of being too much, if that is what you are feeling, and this your understanding of what it means to be too sensitive.
I also just want to end with, if that's the message you were given by your parents, what did you need to hear instead? And can you start giving yourself that?
Exactly. Yeah.
The compassion that was lacking. Mm-hmm. Can you fill that up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. Thanks for sending that in. I really liked that one, actually.
I think that's really relatable.
Yeah, I do too.
I felt that too.
I do too. I mean, yeah, I shared a bit of my own experiences of that. But yeah, if you have had a similar experience or similar thoughts, please let us know. Feel free to comment. And as always, you can send us your dilemmas at hello@thetherapyfloor.com. And we will see you in part 2 for our next dilemma.
Ciao.
Bye.